Alright guys, hope you're all doing well and keeping safe. Yesterday we got all the news possible about the new Summit game mode, the 3 new exotics coming with Season 3, the new gear set Hunter's Fury, new brand set Bellstone Armory and more. Tomorrow the PTS drops and at 2 PM GMT I've got a video dropping that you won't want to miss, so make sure you've got notifications turned on for that. Now we should be getting the TU11 PTS patch notes soon, which I'm going to cover as well, but in the meantime, today I thought I'd talk about one big change coming with control points in TU11. I want to discuss the targeted loot in the Summit mode as well and go over in more detail the new Momento Exotic backpack, because this piece is awesome and likely best in slot for Season 3. If you want to support me, the best way to do that is to watch the video until the end, drop a like, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and with that said, let's begin. So first up, let's talk about the new change coming with TU11 with control points. Some I presume will have changed for the PTF so it can be tested, and I think it will need to be tested to be honest. Now for the longest time, thread after thread on the forums have talked about how control points need changing. Well, not so much the control point itself, but the activities that interact with them. Elite resource convoys, territory controls, aerial drones, all of these things and more, they interact with your control point experience. Now, Agent Putt on Twitter reached out to the devs about this interaction, and he said, not sure who to tag, but any changes coming to control point spawns in TU11. Really frustrating doing heroics when you're swarmed by 20 elites in a 4-man group, when you have a territory control, an elite resource convoy, and an aerial drone nearby. Yannick actually responded saying, actually, Trick Dempsey might have some good news for you there. To which Trick Dempsey responded saying, I got frustrated with how many more elites appeared in the heroic open world compared to in missions. After some sleuthing, we found 2 issues creating too many elites. So now there's the same amount of activity, but a much more reasonable balance of reds, veterans, and elites. Now, I'm not totally sure what people are going to think about this change. I did put out a poll as I was writing the script for this video, and after about 58 minutes, the majority, as you can see, didn't really like this change. And whilst 224 votes at the time of me doing this is a small segment of the community, maybe it does give you a small indication as to what people think about this change. Now, there's no doubt that I've previously sided with Agent Putt here in previous videos, getting frustrated with the amount of times I run up on a control point, which is the activity I do the most, by the way. I don't really play missions. I spend most of my times in the open world and doing control points. So a lot of those times I run up on a control point and I get absolutely swamped by elite NPCs from other activities. With that said, there again, like most things, there needs to be a happy medium between those players who get frustrated with this experience and those who enjoy, the war, as it were, in the open world. And that's the thing. I've talked about how frustrating these control points can become sometimes. Mostly it's because NPCs are still overly aggressive. And as a solo player, if I'm getting pushed from the left and the right whilst I'm pushing forward to a control point, it becomes a case where I have to back up, 4 blocks to get everything out in front of me, slowing my progress down towards that control point considerably, and it feels like more of an inconvenience than a reward. Now sometimes I just get swamped and instantly down. That does happen. With that said, these wars are a lot of the time a whole lot of fun, and they actually enhance the experience, and I absolutely love them. You could make the argument that it's my own fault if I get pushed from all angles because I'm quite possibly not paying enough attention to my surroundings, and I can see an argument for that. But for anyone who plays control points a lot, they will know that's not always possible. And I think it mainly comes down to the event proximities. On approach to a control point, I normally check, the immediate area, just to make sure there's nothing really going on, NPCs or activities and whatever. And a lot of the time, it is clear. But once the control point starts, all these activities and NPCs, it feels like they come out of nowhere. So it's quite possibly a proximity issue. Elites on heroic as well, they're very spongy. So when you've got like 3 other activities, getting involved in that control point experience, a 10-minute control point might take you 30 minutes instead. And that can be frustrating as well. Personally, I've wanted a change for some time, so I'm happy they are. but I do hope that the war experience that you get in the open world is still going to exist, because they often are the best part of the open world. Moving on, and I want to take a closer look at the Memento Exotic backpack coming with Season 3, because this piece is going to be awesome, and I'm very excited. Now, it's already getting the name Rainbow Exotic based on its core attributes, which is kind of funny, actually. So the good news, for me at least, is this backpack will be obtainable from the reward track and not from completing the summit, something I'm unlikely to do for some time, I imagine. Ridgeway's Pride, the other exotic, the chess piece, that's going to be tied to the summit. This does mean that I'm going to try and get this as soon as possible, because I think this could be one of the strongest pieces of gear in Season 3, and I suspect that when people start playing with this on the PTS, they're going to come to the same conclusion. So let's take a look at it a bit closer. So the first thing you'll notice about this exotic is the 3 core attributes: weapon damage, armor, and skill tier. The first of its kind in the Division 2. Now this piece actually reminds me of Ninja Bite from the Division. I mean, the actual use is completely different, but mainly because this piece appears to fit into most builds, whether that be a full color or even a hybrid build. Now, Memento literally gives you all of everything in one piece, something that no other piece can do, which will make it very strong and highly desirable. So let's take a look at the Talon. Now this is called Kill Confirmed, and I'm going to kind of split it into 2 sections and go through each one, as that's the best way to kind of show you how it's going to work. So the talent says, enemies you kill drop a trophy on death. Collecting trophies provides both a short and long-term buff, the first of which scales with the number of core attributes equipped and lasts 10 seconds. So for an offensive, you get plus 5% weapon damage, defensive is plus 20% bonus armor, and skill tiers is plus 5% skill efficiency. So the first section here is based on the short-term buff, which lasts 10 seconds. So every 10 seconds, you can gain a pretty hefty buff by collecting trophies, and that buff is determined by your core attributes and whereabouts they're placed. So let's say you run a 6 red core build. Well, this would give you a 30% weapon damage buff, right? Because you get 5% times the 6 cores that you've got, and that's for 10 seconds on trophy pickup. And there doesn't appear to be a cooldown, so this can be procced every 10 seconds if you wanted it to. If you run, say, a 4 blue and 2 yellow hybrid build, where here you'd get plus 80% bonus armor and then plus 10% skill efficiency. Now, skill efficiency is a new attribute that gives you 1% to every skill mod all at once. So 5% skill efficiency would give you 5% skill duration, damage, haste, etc. And we don't know if this attribute can be acquired on anything else aside from Memento at this point. With the first part of this talent in mind then, you can already kind of see how good this piece is going to be. But that's not all, because this is only the short-term buff. The next part is the long-term buff. For every trophy collected, gain an additional plus 1% weapon damage, plus 1% skill efficiency, and plus 0.1% armor regeneration for 300 seconds, maximum of 30 stacks. So at 30 stacks, you're then going to gain 30% weapon damage, 30% skill efficiency, and 3% armor regeneration for 300 seconds. So that's for 5 minutes. Okay, and it's only at 30 stacks, so you only have to take out 30 NPCs to gain those stacks, which is fairly easy in most encounters to do it pretty quickly. And that's going to buff everything. This means that an all-red build, you could get buffs on skills that could normally only be gotten from skill tiers, because you're getting that 30% skill efficiency. You're going to get buffs on armor regeneration, which, again, that is very strong. 3% armor regeneration is going to be strong, whilst getting 30% extra damage for 300 seconds or 5 minutes, and then another 30% extra damage every 10 seconds from the short-term buff. So with that in mind, you can probably now see just how powerful this piece of gear is going to be, and why this is likely going to replace any backpack in the game, I feel. Off memory, I cannot think of any other backpack that could compete with this, and I'm really, really excited. Last but not least, the devs confirmed that in terms of assigned target loot, this will apply to the Summit game mode regardless of what floor you are playing. Okay, so if it's Richter and Kaiser, it's going to be throughout the whole thing, doesn't matter what level you're on. Now, before I proceed to discuss this, it's worth me just making something clear here. The targeted loot does not replace the loot that would normally drop. This was confirmed in Title Update 6. Targeted loot is in addition to. And I just wanted to make that clear. As some people had mentioned this on the forums, that targeted loot would replace old loot, and that's why it become a problem. That's not the case. With that out of the way then, how do you guys think targeted loot should work for the summit? Do you think there should be just the one targeted loot per day? Maybe multiple? Maybe you could have one per floor? Or do you just think there should be no targeted loot at all for this mode? I want you to leave your suggestions in the comments down below, your feedback, your opinion, all of that stuff. That would be great. Personally, I think there should be targeted loot, but I'm really undecided on how it should work. Like, imagine if Providence or another brand you want was the targeted loot, or never became the targeted loot for a week in a row because it was always below like level 50. Let's say you're a heroic player, right? And they did it where they did it every level. So every single floor, you'd have a different targeted loot. And it was random. So there could be a scenario where, let's say you want Providence, that could always drop below level 50. But you're not going to want that loot because this would mean that it's going to drop in challenging mode or below. And those roles are just not going to suit you as a heroic player. So the one where you do it every level, I just cannot see that one working, to be honest. I think the one that they've got at the moment, just the one targeted loot per day, could work. Or maybe each day you get to choose between a couple of options. Maybe you get 3 options, 3 different pieces. You can choose which one you want, and then you would apply that to the whole activity. We'll have to see what happens. That's my suggestion, but yeah, let me know what you guys think. That's it for today's video, guys. Thanks very much for watching. If you did stick around to the end, I really, really do appreciate it. Like I said at the start of the video, I do have a video coming out tomorrow, 2 p.m. GMT. You're not going to want to miss it, guys. Trust me. So make sure you got notifications turned on for that. And with that said, hopefully you're all keeping safe. Hopefully you're all doing well. Until the next one, Epic out.